So I was leading a mastermind last week, and we talked a number of different things. I got to talk a lot about purpose and kind of a little bit of my story, which was fun. And one of the things that came up as we were talking that I wanted to kind of share and thought it would be an interesting thing was around goal setting, right? And we were talking about why, right? And the importance of the process that I use in my coaching and in my trainings is the 7 whys, right? Or going 7 whys deep, right? And oftentimes you'll hear people, myself, right? I want to create $1 million business. Okay, I want $1 million. It's like, okay, why do you want $1 million, right? Well, I want to have the nice car, the nice house, all of that. All right. Well, why do you want the nice house, right? Well, I want a place where my family can be safe, right? And we keep asking why. And you go very deep into that, and usually around 4 to 6 levels deep, right? It moves from the head to the heart, right? And somebody asked, well, how do you know how many times to go? How many times when you're asking people, how do you know when to stop? And I said it's kind of funny. It usually there's this, right? The head tilts a little bit, and there's this kind of some version of, it's really because right? And you can tell that it's not just what we've said we want or what society says we want. It's what's real, right? And I loved that. But one of the things, what my actual subject here was that do you really need $1 million, or do you just need that thing, right? And does it take $1 million to have, true security and know that people love you, right? Do you need $1 million for a safe home, right? I can't remember who it was that I was listening to that was used to coach like these big VC guys, and it's like, I want to make $1 billion. I want to be able to have a plane and fly wherever I want. I want my own private jet, right? And he's like, here's the thing: you don't actually need your own private jet. You just need to be able to rent a private jet, and for that you don't need $1 billion. You probably need a few million. Right? It's still a big goal, but it's not like crazy. And so, one of the things that I hope you take away from this one is to ask yourself, when you set your goals, and this is something I do in all of my goal setting programs. It's like, why do you really want that? And I would strongly suggest. Actually, I'll put a link to the worksheet that I do for the 7 whys, and take one of your big goals and go through that and ask why, and keep going. So when you answer that, then why that and why that, and there'll be a point where the answer causes an emotional reaction. And I think that's where it's really important, is figuring out, why am I doing what I'm really doing, right? I remember going through one of those where it was like I wanted, it wasn't $1 million, but I wanted this financial goal. It's like, well, why? Well, I want to be able to, have the nice things and provide, and, financial security. It was like the next one down. And it's like, well, I want to make sure that, my family and my kids, have what I didn't have. Well, why? Well, I want to make sure that they have the psychological safety of knowing that everything's okay. Well, why is that? Because when I was growing up, my parents split when I was 2, and I grew up always wishing my dad had been there, right? Or that I could go see him, or whatever. And I never want for my children to have that. And it's cats in the cradle, right? And and that was kind of the genesis of that, was that I wanted a different life for my kids than what I had had in my early years, right? And so I want you to go and do this. If you need to talk to me, I'll put the link in the description for like an intro call to me, where we can, schedule 30 minutes. But what do you really want? And why do you want that? Go deep on it. Figure it out. It's important. Okay. All right. That's all for now. So keep living your life to the third power, and I will talk to you tomorrow.